All right. So today, well, first of all, yesterday was my birthday. I just want to say thank you to everybody for all the beautiful birthday wishes. And I'm so lucky because today, my friend that I'm calling for my astrology conversation is actually my friend Evan. And Evan is actually my really good friend. He's the person I spent my birthday with yesterday. And he's also my ex-husband. And for me, that's really meaningful and important. So, Evan, thank you so much for being the person I'm calling today. And I'm just gonna, this is my, I caught him on a lazy Sunday morning before we got a shower, and just very, um, what is the word when you do something really nice for someone?
Considerate.
It was a very like a little extra for him to say yes to this morning. So thank you. Um, Another reason why it's really meaningful that my ex-husband and my now very good friend is the person I'm calling today is because I'm performing a wedding today. And it's the first wedding. I have officiated a lot of weddings in the last few years, but I stopped officiating a couple years ago because I actually, for a period of time, I kind of stopped believing in marriage, and I couldn't like actually do something that I didn't believe in anymore. And it was like, I think what it was, you know, when, and this is related to astrology, this is related to exactly what's happening right now. So bear with me for a moment. Um, when you and I got married, it was for all the right reasons. Like it was so ideal. Like we loved each other. We love each other still, but we were like, there was nothing I was more certain of. It was like the most certain thing that I'd ever experienced. And so, and we were really idealistic. We were kind of young. I mean, yeah, we were young, but like, even, like it didn't matter. Like I was like, adults could have said whatever they wanted. I was 23 when we got married. I wasn't like that young, but it was pretty young. But like totally idealized marriage. Like I had this like, I don't know, fantasy container of what that was. And then over time we grew up, and when things weren't ideal anymore, I didn't have the maturity to understand what the fuck was going on. Excuse me. I don't know if you're allowed to cuss on Facebook, but oh well, please don't turn me in. Um, so, or YouTube, I don't know, whatever, it's fine. Um, so anyways, fast forward to 2020, right? And in 2020, I've been telling you, Evan, about these bicycles. We were given this new bicycle in the beginning of the year, and then we ride the bicycle, and then the training wheels come off, and we fall down, and then we learn how to ride it better because we get back on, and then we like head into our stride. Well, for me, I never really told anyone what my personal bicycle was about. It was about a shift in my values. Like my values changed, and right across from my values happen to be like in everyone's chart across from your values are actually your relationship with intimacy with yourself and others. And so this whole year, what I've been learning about, what I've been valuing more deeply, are the connections between souls, and how the roles that I've been like, that we all play, those roles were affecting the connections and intimacy I was having with souls. And I had to change my values. I had to, well, I didn't have to, but like 2020 sort of like forced forced all of us to look at our lives differently and learn how to be in relationship with a part of ourselves differently. And for me, that had to do with like, what do I truly value? And ultimately, I value connection with other people, connections that like overcome the misunderstandings that create separation, connections that overcome time and containers. Like this has been some part of my like life mission. Like how do I bridge the gap between those things that would separate us because we are scared and hurt and not well equipped or emotionally immature, and our behaviors hurt. Like how do we overcome all of these human things in our experience so that we can actually bridge the gap that separates us and allows us to actually connect. And this year, with the lockdown, there were fewer people that I was able to connect with, which created greater intimacy with those I was able to connect with. And I was able to actually connect with you as a soul and like remember like the commitments we made in our marriage as souls. Like we committed to things as roles like at the time as well, and the roles like we outgrew these roles. We like changed the roles, and we didn't know really how to reconcile that. And so it created separation. And over time, we grew out of things, and we started getting smarter, and we started having experiences, and we started getting wisdom. And then we were able this year to actually reconnect on a soul level. And what's been so beautiful, like part of why I didn't do weddings is because I felt like a hypocrite. Like how can I have been so certain about something and then not been able to like actually experience the success of that? And when you and I became friends again and actually connected again on that soul level, I started realizing that marriage has nothing to do with roles. If we make it about roles, it could be like hell on earth. And if we actually like see it from a soul perspective, and we see the honoring of these two souls choosing to be in each other's lives that are allowing the people to change and grow and be more authentically themselves, then it completely brings a different perspective of marriage to the world. And so here I was asked, I was in this ministerial program a number of years ago, 5 years ago, and it was really intense. And a girl from my ministry, as you know, she asked me to do her wedding. And at first I was like, wow, no, but it made me like address what are my views on marriage now. And that was a few weeks ago. So, astrologically, we were in this Earth season. We're still we were in Virgo for the last 4 weeks. We're still in it this week. It's transitioning this week into Libra, which is relationship, right? So like I've had these tangible things in my world that have helped me to like tangibly ask myself these questions about, well, what have I learned? What do I value now? What are my experiences? What can I actually look at? Like we talk about the stamps, right? Like we talk about how we like have these experiences and we stamp it into our book of experience so that we can call that wisdom back up when we need it. And I've been doing that. Like what's the tangible proof of what I believe about this? And so I was able in my fullest integrity to say yes to this friend that was in my ministry, yes to doing her wedding today, yes to being in full integrity in that. And so what I know is happening, what happened last week is we planted seeds for the future, like for what we want to experience. And everyone, from what I talked, when I talk to people, I hear that like there's certain things that happened around Thursday, around the new moon, where like you had to investigate what your standards were. You had to investigate like, what is my standard for what I want to experience? What is my standard for like how I want, what I want in my life? And what am I going to say no to? And what am I going to say yes to? What's my relationship with myself and my standards, like moving forward? And how does that affect how I behave with people in my life? Like, I don't, this was the questions that came up last week. So this week coming up, I anticipate that we are going to have opportunities where the things we decided are going to be challenged. We're going to like be facing parts of our relationship, parts of our relating with external people. So we had all this internal like contemplation, internal observation, and now there's going to be people showing up to be like, okay, how are you in relationship with me now based on what you decided for your future? How are you going to relate and behave with me now that you have made these decisions for yourself? Like, what are you going to, like, we might be acting and behaving a bit differently this week. And we might be tempted to behave the way we used to behave before we stamped the stamps into our book, you know? So it's going to be important for us to be present, but with both of those things. Be present with the fact that we know that parts of us are changing. So the people in our world are also changing. They're also a part of all of this. They're also making decisions and standards for their lives. And so are we. And if we relate to each other as souls and not the fixed roles that we've had people in forever, you know, like we think like, oh, this is so-and-so, this is who they are, this is their identity, this is how they act, then we're making them a role, we're making them a character. And if we don't meet them as a soul and allow them to change their character as well, we may be depriving ourselves of really important connections. And so how do we balance that, seeing another person as a soul, with also holding a standard for what we accept, what's acceptable behavior, what's acceptable standards, like what's acceptable mindsets? You know, for me, it's all about like where I let my mind go, like how I let myself perceive things. And that's been on the table for me. That's been a big issue. Like I've had a lot of experiences where I can be like, wow, I was talking to you about it yesterday, I could really look at that from a perspective that feels really awful. Or I can look at it from this other perspective that feels way more aligned with the truth of me. And so that's what I think is going to happen this week. I actually didn't watch astrology videos this week. I was actually busy. I didn't have, like, I usually have tons of time to like luxuriate in YouTube, and I did not have that this week. And so I don't have a big summary, I don't have a breakdown, but by this time, if you want to watch all of those reports, you can access them. You know how to access them, Evan. Like I send you, on my website, I've got links to like all of the astrologers that I like to watch. But this time, really, it's just my raw interpretation of what's going on. And I really appreciate this space and time. Like this birthday was like, well, for me, I think it was like the best birthday I've had, like that I can remember. And maybe I just can't, I don't have a good memory for the past, but I had such a fun time, and it was so simple. And, you know, just being present with my life and being present with myself and who I am, and all the relationships that I've cultivated, and all the people that celebrate my life with me. Like I feel so rich, and I'm really grateful. I laughed so hard, I cried, it was just the simplest things were so joyful. And so this is where I am in my life, and I believe it's due to the fact that like I've shifted my values to what is truly deeply important to me as a soul. And because of that, it clears out a lot of the bullshit that was causing me anxiety and grief in my past. So Evan, thank you so much for being like the proof of that, the proof of the work, the proof that like we are relating as souls. And it's amazing. And I feel like this is possible for every human. Like there's no reason for us to hold these really rigid roles in place for people. There's a whole bunch I could say about this, but this is supposed to be a short thing. So anyways, thank you for letting me call you on a Sunday and for being my friend. And I hope that this message reached all of you out in the world that I like to reach, and that I feel so blessed by. And thank you again for all the birthday blessings. I hope that you're all able to traverse the energy of this week with a lot of integrity and an open heart. So thank you. And thanks, Evan.